how to protect your city or your town against terrorism. That's what we'll talk about today. Judith Miller, the prize-winning former New York Times reporter, wrote an op-ed that really laid out what New York City is doing to protect itself against terror attacks. And it really should be the template for cities around the country. The attacks in Boston certainly show that the terrorists are moving away from attacks just in New York City, and that this network of mosques and jihad promoting institutions throughout the country is cultivating homegrown terrorists that are doing the attacks in their own cities, in their own neighborhoods. So yours might be vulnerable, and I thought I'd elaborate some of those. The first thing is that the police departments need to do a real study of Islamic culture and Islamic ideas and how the jihadist propaganda network works, including infiltrating the local mosques. The New York Police Department has done a tremendous job of that. They have the resources. They have 1,000 police officers dedicated to tracking down terrorist threats and jihadist threats. But then there are other things. First, in their manual, the police department in New York says, watch out for family disputes. Watch out for breakups of families, because that often is the tip to somebody then becoming indoctrinated in jihadist activities. So when the older brother was arrested for domestic violence, that should have been a tip-off, and it might well have been worth following him. Then another tip-off is when they are ejected from the mosque. And the brother was thrown out of his mosque in 2011. That also should have been a tip-off, could be a tip-off. The New York City Police Department has a network of 40,000 businesses that it's working with to detect suspicious patterns of purchases and other activities, particularly in Islamic areas. That might have been a tip-off. In addition, they monitor the cyber traffic of anyone who is identified as a potentially suspicious person. And the older brother should have been, after the domestic violence, when he was a non-citizen and could be surveilled for that, after he went to Russia for 6 months in southern Russia, after in 2011 the Russians identified him as a possible threat, which the local police force would have been notified of. All of that stuff would have kept him on a watch list. And then the cybersecurity operation would have picked up when he was going to terrorist sites and when he was doing Islamic and jihadist Islamic studies. Finally, you have the Ring of Steel. New York City has something like thousands of police cameras throughout the city, and 225 of them focused on Central Park. The marathon finish line is in Central Park. So these are all steps that a city needs to take. The Boston police were magnificent in figuring out who the terrorists were, enlisting the public's cooperation, closing in on them, and apprehending them. They were terrific. But there are lessons all of us in every city in the country need to learn about how to be more effective in stopping terrorist attacks in our own locality. Thanks a lot for watching.